Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Too Geeky to Care podcast and the Twitch channel. This is the spot where we just talk about all things geeky and just do not care about, and sometimes, if not all the time, we like to connect it to something involving our world and our society. And so, of course, my name is Tark201.
I'm Daphne G1129.
I am Bushido X Wolf.
And I'm hungry.
That is
Bajujutsu. This is Bajujutsu, otherwise known as AJ the Great.
And today we will be talking about tropes and cliches. Basically, everybody should be familiar with this, like, oh, that is such a cliche, and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, before we dive into it, instead of asking, what's the first thing that comes into our mind, let's mix it up a little bit and I want to ask everybody, what is that one cliche that we think has been overused, or used way too much?
For me, I think it's definitely the damsel in distress. It's like that's the trope that I feel like has been embedded into everyone's mind, where they need to, if there's a hero, they need to hear someone saying, "Please help me" or "Save me." Now it's not always a girl though, so I mean that's slightly changed.
And slightly better.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, that's literally the main one right there.
Oh yeah.
Because we've always seen that throughout movies, books, games. It's pretty much been everywhere in media.
Yeah.
So this is something we kind of, in a way, had to get used to until further on in time. Now it's, like he said, less about girls being the damsel in distress. There's guys too, so yay. Which I think
the token black guy.
Oh man, my favorite is that South Park didn't even try to joke about it or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
His name is Token.
We're gonna call him Token.
Yeah.
Call him Token.
Oh
Great.
Token
my.
black guy. Like
That way, no one can miss the joke. It doesn't
It's
go
all-
over
it's like-
anyone's head. It's all right there in plain text for them.
he's the only black dude in him and Chef. They're the only black people in South Park.
Yeah,
Chef was
it's very.
killed off, which was another one of my favorite cliches. Is where
Yeah.
they always pick. There's a certain order of death with characters. That's a
The
big
master
one.
always dies. He's like the master of like all the students. Like he's like they're like sensei. And the sensei always dies. That's a cliche. The sensei always dies.
Yeah, it is. The mentor, the role of mentor always disappears.
Yes.
So, for me, I think the thing, the trope or the cliche that I usually think of the most is, why is it in the arts nowadays, in novel form and film form, it's kind of disappearing, especially in literature and all that, but definitely in a lot of other forms. Why is it that the black guy or girl always has to be a little bit of a big mouth, and at the same time they are really specializing in guns? What's going on there? And it's funny because if we can argue, even from something like Final Fantasy, in Final Fantasy VII, Barrett was the only one that was able to use a gun, but then we can argue, oh, wait a minute, but that was a long time ago, so we obviously moved past that, right? Well, in Final Fantasy 13, the only black guy in there, Saz, what was his main weapon? 2 pistols. How cool is that? And all that.
Yeah, it's
You're
huge
absolutely correct.
stereotypes when it comes to certain one of those.
And then hold on, token black guy. He had an afro. Couldn't miss him.
I mean, that
Just
also
saying.
that also just goes back to it being Japan. Not that that's an
Yeah, that is
excuse,
true.
but
True,
it's
but
Japan.
it still
They
falls into that.
They love tropes. They absolutely love tropes.
Of course.
No.
They have all my other favorite tropes too.
And this is
Oh,
where
yeah?
we start changing photos. Just put the token black guy, please. The token black guy photo.
Token black guy. And so,
Brandon
Next.
knows. Now we're gonna continue on this topic of token black because I hate the token black guy cliche so much. It's like if you're gonna include a black guy, at least include like a black girl, which Left 4 Dead actually did a good job on. They actually incorporated Rochelle. All right, but Left 4 Dead 1, and he wasn't even like he was like the nerdiest black guy ever. I was like, he's like he's too cheery. He's too cheery.
Happy about everything.
Right? But he's a token black guy. And it's just like I don't know.
I feel like he was a better token black guy than a lot of other ones where like they they depict they're usually like actually they're usually like coach. They're usually like
they are. Yeah.
I feel like
they're usually a lot more like coach, and that's pretty much their only personality. But yeah, Elise Lewis had some sort of difference. Definitely.
Yeah, that is true. And so now jumping into a little bit more of a serious thing, where do we think all these tropes and cliches come from? And I think our obvious answer would be, you know, society, what we have here and all that. What we see in the real world, we kind of reflect it, or we kind of like imprint it into works and all that. And so I wanted to ask everybody, what are your thoughts on that, if that is even the case?
I feel like actually most of it comes with people's need to have something familiar in everything. So something they could easily recognize or have that sense of, okay, even though this is something new and different, I still feel like I understand and can predict what's going to happen. If people get too lost and something's too new or too different, it really upsets them. It really bothers them, you know? And that's what causes anything that's too revolutionary for its time ends up being set aside. Like that happens a lot with art and stuff like that, and with literature. So people tend to work tropes into everything they do. For one, usually for comedy effect, and two, just to have that little bit of familiarity for everyone.
Yeah, that is true.
I totally agree with Brandon. It's the whole familiarity thing, and it's also the people that don't want to adapt to something new.
Yeah.
Like, don't like change.
They don't, and it's unfortunate because some of these ideas are great, but then they're like, why? Why? Like, for example, back in the days in our horror films, you know, our main protagonists were Caucasian, you know, male, female. The 60s, when the 60s happened, we got Night of the Living Dead, and that was a complete earth-shattering film because it took what is usually the norm and made it not normal. Granted, it was the first zombie film, but it was also the first film to portray a colored person as its main character.
Yeah. And I really, for those who saw Night of the Living Dead, I really like that ending because we can really debate on, like, first off, did anybody here not see that film?
I did, but it was a long time ago.
You already know my answer.
I can't remember it, to be honest.
So, like, in the end of the film...
The black guy shots.
The black guy gets shot. Now, you can debate whether those guys, did they shoot him because they thought he was a zombie because it was in the distance or so, or did they shoot him because he was a man of color from the 1960s and all that? And so I really like that. It's really one of those things where, like, when you stop to think about it for a second, you're like, wait a minute, there might be more of a social message and social commentary than we know and all that. And in reflection to the arts, it's so funny because how we have it is, we've seen this before in like films and novels and all that stuff, but when we go into like video games and all that, it's interesting to see it there as well. Sometimes it's intentionally, sometimes it's not, and it's sometimes just how we perceive it. So for example, if we were to talk about a recent video game like, I don't know, BioShock Infinite, where there's still African-American slavery going on in that game, even in the opening scene, we can choose whether to be racist or not. We can choose, we have a choice and all that. And so initially, I remember a lot of people were claiming, "Oh, that means BioShock Infinite is racist." Now, is it really, or is the game just trying to make it accurate to the times and all that other stuff, and try to give you that experience of what it was like back in the day? And I really like what the character Elizabeth said at the somewhere in the game, where she's like, "Oh, why is one bathroom for colored and the other one's for whites?" And then Booker was like, "That's just how it is." And then Elizabeth's like, I think it's an unnecessary complication, if you ask me. I really like that. That was really cool. And so I wanted to ask you.
Hold on.
What's up?
Hold on. Before anything, I don't think that I think it was a very provoking, like what you just said about the very beginning. It's like a very provoking thing. Are you racist or are you not? What's the question?
Well, I think more of the question was how willing are you to conform? Because at that point, like they knew when the way they portrayed everything, they wanted it to feel like you're doing something wrong. They wanted it to seem like you were doing something wrong. But like, are you gonna continue to do something you know is wrong to conform with the people around you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was just like, it was a matter of how willing are you to just like be part of society? Are you willing to like just throw away what you know is right or wrong for sticking around with people?
Right. And I really have a thing for that, because it just goes to show you that, you know, we have this history of like, I don't want to say violence, but in this situation, I'll say, yeah, we have this situation of like conflict between different races and all that in our world. And I love seeing it reflected into these forms of the arts, because it just gives you like that thing of, oh crap, so this is what it was like back then.
I just want to say all the credit in the world to Jordan Peele for making such a great movie.
Yes, get out. Yes, Jordan, Mr. Peele. Jordan, if you're watching this right now, thank you. Great film.
Such an amazing movie. It tackles every stereotype of racial, of just anything racial, like in portrayal of movies in general. It's really just such a great movie, and it's not so that it was very entertaining. It was very thought provoking, because it challenges everyone to think, okay, are we going to change the situation? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, like we're going back to the topic of, you know, of tokens, the token black people.
Yes,
you get it every time, and it's just it's crazy that not many black people survive in horror movies. Just throwing that as an example, right? Besides Get Out, what was the last horror movie where the black person survived?
Well, there was those B-rated horror films like Frankenfish. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah. Yeah, the brother survived in that.
Yeah, I feel like the smaller films, they kind of, they do things like that.
That's why they're not in Hollywood, though.
Yeah, mainstream media, though, doesn't tend to favor people of color, unfortunately, because that's just kind of like... That's just kind of the stereotype, the cliche, you know? They kind of, they're stuck on that. That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
The one movie that got me excited was Final Destination, the last one.
Part 5.
Where the black guy actually didn't die.
Until the end.
Yeah, but everyone dies in that movie, so they had to be fair.
Different. But,
they had to be fair.
The order in which they choose how people die and the way kill everybody was like something. Has always been like an issue with that movie.
So
but no, I get what you're saying, AJ. He survived.
He was supposed to die. So someone got killed in his place.
Yes,
and he was supposed to die. And then they realized that the dude that died had like a brain tumor that was gonna burst within days. And he died right when they announced that the dude had brain tumor. I'm like, come on, really? You're gonna do that? Like, that's so messed up.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, no. Granted, I enjoyed the movie a lot.
Out of curiosity, does anyone remember the movie Jaws?
Of course.
Yeah.
Really?
No, I was just thinking of like the tropes and stuff in Jaws, and I pulled up a picture of it, and I keep thinking about like all the things that have like forever lived on because of Jaws, and a couple of the tropes like the token black guy is something that lives on through Jaws.
There's another shark movie that
there was, and
I think it was
Samuel
Deep
L.
Blue Sea
Jackson.
or something like that.
Deep Blue Sea.
was-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that
A
movie.
shark ate me. A shark ate me. Oh, I love this. A shark ate me.
And so I just remember
I
this
think
one
Deep Blue
moment in
Sea
the.
was more I don't want to say tropey, but it was more tropey than
It
Jaws
was, but it was.
Oh,
it was
yeah,
pretty
totally.
Great, though. It was still
And
a really
Jaws,
good movie.
I think Jaws was.
It was-
oh yeah, it was great. It was because it was hilarious. That's why.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
why
like-
it was great, because it's
It was,
so...
it was like I'm gonna pretend to be serious, but you're aware I'm pretending to be serious, so it's okay.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the way that everyone died. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh,
It was basically a slasher film, except the killer were sharks.
yeah, it's true.
You know, LL Cool J survived in that
Because-
movie.
He
Yeah.
did
Oh yeah,
exactly.
that's right. That's right.
But once again, it's going
That's what
once
I'm
again with
getting
that
at.
stereotype, because LL Cool J, yeah, he was the chef, and not only that, he was the black guy that taught
That's-
slang, and that was the comedic relief and everything. What's going on there?
So in a way, they did make him a cliche, but he also survives. So there you
Yes,
go.
that is true, and I liked him. He was my favorite character in the film
He
too.
Well,
was
he was
LL Cool J,
hilarious.
bro.
So hey,
He's LL Cool J, man. Come on.
yeah,
you can't
I've
kill
always
LL
been a
Cool
fan
J.
of his.
Yeah.
So hey.
You can't kill LL Cool J. Come on now. LL
And
Cool
I'm-
J's a great actor.
Yeah, he is, and I'm glad you brought up Jaws, Brandon, because I want to jump into our next trope, and I really want to hear it from Goth's perspective, and I'm pretty sure all of us in every form of media, we've seen this before. What is everybody's thoughts on females and women, female characters that are like the lesser characters, the ones that do not get the spotlight, the ones that are known for
The secondary hero, the female.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, the less female leads. Until now, we're starting to see like an uprising, and they're
What's a
starting
good
to
example
become.
of that? I'm trying to think of what's a good example of the lesser female lead.
Mm.
Man,
I think an
I-
example could be the original Star Trek, and that's one of the things that that's one of the things that that Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, he wanted to go against. Like if you saw the very original pilot, the one that didn't air, if you watch that, then one of the main characters was a female commander. Her name was Number One. We never find out what her real name is, because obviously that never happened. So her name was Number One, and she was basically when the captain is away, she is captain. She was somehow above Spock and all that. And the studios back in the day, they didn't like that. They were like, that's not gonna work. Female leads, that's not gonna, no. So yeah,
so
it's
they
one of
moved-
those.
They moved their female lead further down the ladder to
Yes.
almost a background prop, which is really depressing.
Mhm.
Seriously.
I'm just saying.
Did that.
I'm just saying though, like people are quite stupid for thinking.
Yeah.
Like back then, I could understand because like the mentality was much more different. It's still terrible.
I feel like that was the thing of it happened a lot back then, but it's less often now. Like
I know, which is a
there are a
miracle,
lot of
but it's
female
still,
leads now.
yeah, that's great, but it's still kind of like, I hate to say it, but it still kind of happens a little bit, and I hate that. Like, for example, a lot of, like, what?
My girl Gal Gadot only got $300,000 for playing Wonder Woman.
That's still a lot of money, if you ask me.
No, are you serious? That movie was so good, and yet
It was.
what's his name?
It was.
And then Chris Evans makes
Chris
Chris
Pine?
No, Chris Evans.
Oh, as in
Makes-
Captain America. Okay.
He makes 15 mil just doing one movie.
Oof. Well, I think it also is because Chris Evans, he's in a lot more stuff than Gal Gadot.
He has more experience.
Gal
Yeah.
Gadot was in Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, that is true. Gal Gadot. There's and also I think like we can even root it down to like the video games, and I'm glad we started off with like the damsels in distress and all that. Like the damsels are the ones that are always the women, and they always need to be rescued by the knight or by the hero. Even Zelda, the damsel, got to be rescued and all that other stuff. And then it wasn't until, I don't know, a video game about a space bounty hunter is running around shooting stuff and jumping around and being so athletic, so strong, and able to fight all these characters. And back in the day, and I even watched a documentary about this. Back in the day, people were like, "What?
Unless you beat the game, you didn't know Samus was a girl."
Yeah. basically, I saw a documentary about this, and people, when they first played, well, thank you for revealing it, yeah, Metroid, when they first played Metroid, everybody was like, wow, who is this man? This is really insane, and all that other stuff. And when you beat it, she takes off her helmet and sometimes her suit, depending on how fast and how much you did, and people are like, oh, it's a woman.
And you're like, oh my gosh, you got boobs!
And it's a woman and all that, and everybody thought that was going to start this whole new wave of like female characters and all that stuff, female leads. But no, we didn't really
just got upset instead.
We didn't really get that. We still had that barrage of like male leads and all that other stuff, and
it's really hard to change that mindset though.
I mean, they really did push, and they really did try, and I appreciate that.
And it wasn't until almost a decade later we had another female character jump into the lead of this barrage of female characters, an adventurer, someone who is able to be almost as athletic as Samus and is super smart and is able to defeat dinosaurs just with 2 pistols. I'm pretty sure all of you know who I'm talking about. And yes, absolutely. And Lara Croft. And so basically, that was really cool. However, with the sequels of Tomb Raider, this Eidos, back in the day, it was owned by Eidos, they wanted to sexualize Lara Croft so much. And that was one of the reasons why Toby Gard, the creator of Lara Croft, he left the studio, because they were changing this strong, heroic, intelligent character to a sex symbol. And he was like, no, why is this happening? And so, and even me, I would be pissed off at that too. That sounds awful.
See, she was one of the first characters who actually had group physics.
I know, but do you consider that to be an act of making video games realistic, or is it an act of something else?
It's an act of trying to get guys to have...
I think it was emphasizing something, definitely. I don't necessarily think it was a necessary part of the game, though.
You know what's the one saying? Sex sells?
Yeah.
That is, yeah. I hate to say it, but...
That's what they were trying to do, though.
No.
See, with that type of character, they could do that with.
So
I want
going back to the strong female leads, I thought of another series that also did strong female leads really well.
Resident Evil? Resident Evil?
Yes, Resident Evil.
Resident Evil as well, I didn't think of that.
That is
I was
true.
Thinking of, actually, Beyond Good and Evil.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Beyond Good and Evil was another series that actually did the strong female lead really well. And it was funny because, like, you actually have to go and save your... You kind of say, like, your sidekick. And, like, after you save... No, actually, it's the other way around. Your sidekick goes to save you. And it's not like I'm trapped and I now have to depend on someone else to help me. Your sidekick comes in, frees you, and then goes, okay, here's your weapon. I'm going to leave because I can't do anything. You have this, right? And just leaves.
Oh, man.
And you have to do the fighting on your own. So, like, your sidekick goes and helps you, but you're the one everyone depends on. So it's just like, yeah, you got to do the fighting. Here's your weapon. I'm going to peace out. You take care of this. Cool, thanks, bye.
Shout out to Ubisoft for doing a part 2. I'm excited.
I love me too.
To it and everything.
Me too. Oh yeah, looking forward to it. And so I wanted to. Oh, after you, AJ.
No, but you can see it now that the strong female lead, it's growing so much. We have strong female leads in a lot of things now.
But it itself is now becoming a trope because of the way they portray the strong female lead.
Yeah.
Where so the strong female lead is usually motivated. Usually just has like because they don't want to sexualize a strong female lead, so she has usually little to no romantic interest at all with every one of these games.
Au contraire. Lara Croft's a lesbian.
Oh, and the newer ones.
Yes, and the newer ones, yes.
Yeah,
and I think
ones, yes.
Yes.
Just throwing that out.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, but that's not something they ever showed in the original ones, obviously. With most other games that have strong female leads, there's no sexualization. They try to avoid that in every way. So it's always this like person with no romantic interests, or little to no romantic interests, unless they're trying to fight a stereotype.
Yeah.
So they have little to no romantic interests, and their motivations is usually like, okay, I have to do good, or I have to do the right thing. Like it's always this like vague motivation that they stick them with, and it's always this thing of, okay, I have to do everything on my own. I can't depend on anybody else. I'm the only one capable of handling this. There's no team. There's just I.
It's just me and my girl power.
Pretty much. And so, like, that's now starting to become a trope in itself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
There are a lot of places that are trying to fight it, where, like, the new one, they'll either make them they'll make them a romantic interest, and it's always like, oh, we're gonna set up this guy, and we're gonna make it like she's in love with this guy, but then, psych, she's actually in love with the girl. You know, and
I like that.
Yes.
I always like that. That always makes me laugh, because if people are like, they ruined it. It's like, how'd they ruin it? Because you can't sexualize her the way you want to anymore.
I know. That's
I mean,
horrible.
they still can, but
They still try to. But now it's every girl's dream to marry that girl.
Yes, I love that.
You know? So it's kind of funny, because it's like now everyone else who you wouldn't think would sexualize her is now the one sexualizing her. It gets crazy. But anyways, I think it's funny. My other favorite person who is a trope in the way that his entire existence is supposed to be a troll on other tropes. He's supposed to be a joke on everything that is done. Anything that is serious. Anything that is serious, he can't take seriously. Like he just does things all on his own, and a lot of people are bothered by the way he handles romance, because he's known as pansexual, so he doesn't care. He doesn't care as long as he can get it in. He doesn't care where he gets it in, and it's Deadpool.
Of course, and I love how you said
for this.
I love how you said the pansexual part, because a lot of people don't really know that, and
a lot of people are just like, oh, he's both gay and straight. It's like there's a word for that, and it's just him not caring. And it's like, hey, you're hot. I want you. And that's how his brain works. And I love that. I love him for that. He's great.
They kind of mild it down for the movies.
Yeah.
It's kind of
now a lot of the cast and the main actors and stuff like that, a lot of the staff too are just like, hey, can we like work in a boyfriend too for the next one? And apparently,
or at least have him flirt more with guys too.
Yeah,
you know, not just like, hey, lady, you know, like, come on, gotta give him room to flirt with
complimenting men and stuff like that. Like,
we saw that.
The very beginning of his movie was hilarious in the way that he was just talking about how he had no problem doing sexual favors with men to get himself a movie. And he had no problem doing it because he enjoyed it, you know. So it was supposed to be this huge joke and stuff like that. And he's joking on like a lot of the tropes where, like, you know, they'll always talk about, I hate to say it, but a lot of people who are in the acting community a long time ago would say like, oh, the only reason this girl's in the female lead is because she was doing stuff with the director. Well, now Deadpool is just straight out in his movie like, hey, I was doing stuff with the director in order to get myself a movie, so don't worry about it. And that's supposed to be the joke, you know? And then he goes on and then does a bunch of stuff like that, like making jokes on all kinds of tropes, like the Negasonic Teenage Warhead, was that her name?
Yeah, that's it.
Every joke he could at that character, and like how trope-like that character was, and things like that. It was really funny. And the same thing with oh man, what's this guy? Colossus,
yeah. I think he even talked about his dingus once. which is hilarious.
He tried punching him in the nuts and broke his hand on his nuts. So that was definitely a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a great character for both like I want to say exposing tropes. He points them out. He makes jokes at them. He does all kinds of ridiculous nonsense involving tropes. But like he himself is a trope because he's just a troll on the existence of the world that he is in. He just makes jokes, and all he is a clown. He's incapable of taking anything serious, even a very serious romantic moment. He just has to kill it with a joke.
Yeah.
Yep.
He just has to. He has no problem sitting there slicing straight through every ounce of tension and every ounce of weirdness. And even when he's being tortured, he just sits there and slices straight through it with a joke.
Nice.
He's becoming a trope, which is great, especially with his thing with breaking the fourth wall, which I think is hilarious.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh yeah. But I feel like while his character type is a trope, he's his own special class that like almost exists outside of that because of how ridiculous his character is. There's really no way to remake this character.
He's just a troll overall.
Yeah,
though.
he breaks the fourth wall. He talks to the audience, which is like the thing you never do. It's the thing no one's ever willing to do, and anyone who does it, it's just like, oh look, he's pulling a Deadpool. You know it's been done before. He's pulling it now. It's he's pulling a Deadpool.
See, like you're talking about like breaking the fourth wall in tropes. There's this one movie. I don't know if any of you guys seen it. It's called Funny Games.
Dude, I saw both versions.
All right, Tarek. I know you're
I thought you were gonna pull out Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Well, there's that too.
There's that one as well, but
It wasn't
Funny
tropey,
Games
but
is
it was definitely fourth wall breaking.
yeah, no, but Funny Games is it's a trope in the sense that it tackles the social commentary of how we glorify violence with the glorification of violence. So in the sense he like the guy would like he would say, what should I do in this situation? Should I make it a point or should I just asking the audience what he wants to do to the person that's there. And it's really crazy because again the movie it's a social commentary about us glorifying violence, yet the whole movie is very violent.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things you're like, oh man, the whole breaking of the fourth wall thing is very creepy, man. I'm just saying, you start asking me, I'm like, I'm just here trying to watch a movie. I don't want you to kill him, but at the same time I do. So that's the whole thing. Like with Deadpool is hilarious because I felt like I was having a conversation with him.
Yeah.
Well, the film is able to do that. That just shows the power.
It was the same thing with the comics too. Like the comics,
yeah, of
he
course.
would just like turn out and like he would step. There was literally points where he would move from one scene to the other using the comic strip. So he would like move across the comic strip. In video games, his signature move is grabbing his health bar and attacking you with it. And like using aspects of the UI in the game and just abusing them. After he wins a fight, he'll sit there and complain. He'll grab the camera that doesn't exist because, it's not supposed to be there, but he'll grab the camera, just screaming at the camera that no one else can see.
Yeah.
So it was great. He does all that kind of ridiculous nonsense, and now that's becoming his signature. And it's cool because a lot of people are getting more comfortable with being okay with breaking that fourth wall and just looking at the audience and going, okay, this is happening.
But
now,
that just shows how charismatic the character is, though.
Yeah.
Because it's not just any character that can do that.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Deadpool because of how he is. He's just a clown. He's hilarious. He's merciless, but he's hilarious. So that's why a lot of people like they enjoy it because it's something different. It's something refreshing. So. The next one I want to talk about, and we all love horror films.
Oh boy, here we go.
We all love horror films, but some of our favorite horror films, the protagonist, the main character, she's always it's always a female, but not just any female. She's the pure virgin The one with the high morals. She's the one that's she's just incredible. And yet, why? Why is it always a pure virgin character? That's one of the tropes that I'm also bothered with as well, because like I can't relate to a pure virgin girl.
I think okay, to answer your question, I think the reason why it's like that, well, basically back in the day, horror was all metaphor, and so what it wanted to do was actually make it more of a message rather than it being, you know, just a standalone thing. So it was more of a message type of thing. That's the reason why it was there. If you catch my drift,
it's a metaphor for, okay, look, the evil is around this pure, beautiful white lady. Yes, let's put her in the worst situation ever.
And it's also trying to deliver a message to people saying, oh, if you're pure in heart, word, deed, and if you're a good girl or
purity
a good boy,
means you don't die.
Exactly.
Or go to hell.
That's what's going on here. Yeah.
So like, for example, we have Nev Campbell as Sydney. This is the 1990s, guys. This trope still goes. Okay, this was in the 1990s. Just recently, we had Cabin in the Woods, which is a trope on every horror film.
It was a joke on every trope. I was waiting to bring that one up too. It's one of my favorite ones to talk about.
And although what I did enjoy about that one was that you're not a virgin, but you're close to it.
We gotta work with what we have. You know?
Yeah.
that was my favorite thing.
Well,
and like none of the characters are perfect, so you're like, oh, we gotta drug them and like shape their personality so that they are perfect. And that's what they did. So, my favorite was like the ridiculous stoner with the thermos that he uses as a weapon, and it was like such a great break away from like all of the cliches, because they were like, we'll force him to be a cliche, and he did everything he could to fight it, and it was great because of it.
Nice.
What was funny about that movie is that, like you said, they drugged everyone to like sway their personalities. Chris Hemsworth was like a nerd, but he also played football, but he was like more on the nerdy side than like a football jock. And so later on in the films, you see him becoming like straight up jock, like, you know, like back in the days, like Friday the 13th jockish type character. He's like, yeah, look, and then they're like, what is wrong with you, dude? And he's like, I don't know, man, I just feel different. So it's such a good movie. I love that movie, but at the same time, the virgin character's always been there. From freaking Dracula.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say about that as well is I think the main reason, as Tark said as well, is that back then abstinence was very important to people. So that's why it was always displayed as the innocent character, you know, who like, you know, wasn't, you know, doing anything yet.
Yes,
so
I'll give
it
an
was
example.
Extremely important back then, so they kind of wanted to, you know, drill that into everyone's heads.
like you have Scream,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say Halloween. Then you have Nightmare on Elm Street. Like all those characters, they were already like they wanted to get sexually active, and you could tell. But they always had that, you know, that thing blocking them.
Yeah.
like for instance, in Halloween, it was Michael Myers. Like, no, sister, you're not having sex. Not necessarily, but he was just there. And Nightmare, Freddy would just keep popping up in their dreams. Freaking Freddy, he's terrifying. and Scream, she actually did have sex, and then she realized she lost her virginity to the serial killer.
Spoiler alert.
Exactly. I mean, if you haven't seen that yet.
If you haven't seen it, that's pretty bad.
It's been out for a long time.
The movie's like 20 years old.
Exactly.
More.
It's a really old movie. You're not. Go back. Go find it.
But regardless, you have those characters. They they still exist. Like even in the
a lot of
remakes,
horror films and stuff like that, they'll always use those kind of characters. And in any show that has similar character archetypes, they'll end up making like a horror themed episode where the characters end up fitting those archetypes perfectly.
Yes, exactly.
Like they'll force their characters into archetypes and make them look ridiculous and things. It was great for that reason.
I want to bring up one myself, just because you had to mention the virgin. You also have to mention the stereotypical ditzy blonde. Because she's in almost every movie.
The blonde bimbo.
Especially horror movies. She's typically the naked one running away. Yeah.
She's actually, because she's not always blonde, they usually just call her the bimbo.
The bimbo, the flirtatious, the flirt.
But back then, it was typically blondes that they used to make this stereotype.
Blonde was always seen as back then was always seen as the more attractive hair color.
Yeah.
Whatever reason, I don't know what it was, but there was always like the ideal girl was blonde. Point being.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, I don't know why. I'm more partial to like brunettes and stuff. I'm just
okay.
If you're watching this, if you make a brunette bimbo, like Tiffany from the video game F13, the Friday the 13th game, she's a brunette. Yeah, and she got booty. Yeah.
Okay then.
No, you always have the flirt character.
Yeah, of course.
You have to have your yin and yang. You have your virgin, then you have the flirt. You always know the flirt's gonna die, so that's always satisfying. And it's just one of those things. You can't have this without that.
So you know what's really funny? You know what series also had the exact same archetypes as horror films, but it was like the generic archetypes that horror films had. But not a lot of people think about it too much. Was actually Power Rangers.
Oh yeah!
The exact same archetypes.
Oh yeah! That's right.
Kimberly was a virgin. Yeah.
But it's conflicted between the Red Ranger and the White Ranger. The Pink Ranger is always conflicted romantically with the male leads. There's always like the two tough male leads. Then there's the Yellow Ranger, which was always having boy trouble. I don't know if you guys remember any of the original series. Even in some of the later ones, apparently, that was like her character archetype was usually that she had boy trouble.
Oh man, the Yellow Ranger, not just in Mighty Morphin, but also in Zeo. What's her name? Tanya? Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. I was like, why is she struggling with like boyfriend after boyfriend?
And then it's just like every single episode, it's just like a completely different guy. Like, oh, he's
perfect
for you. Yeah, I know. Oh, it didn't work out. I know. Darn, I moved to the next one. Yeah.
Oh my.
It's terrible.
Well, even in the original Mighty Morphin.
Then you have your token black guy.
Yeah, I was about to say, even in the original Mighty Morphin.
Yeah, there was a lot of racial cliches in this as well.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a lot of racial.
The black guy was the Black Ranger, the Asian was the Yellow, and not only that, the power weapon for the Black Ranger was a gun! How sweet!
And the Blue Ranger was always like the nerd who had no social skills and things like that, which me and Tark were talking about recently. But the Blue Ranger was always like the nerd with no social skills. Now with the newer movie, they flipped it around a lot, and I liked what they did with it. Where like
he's black.
Yeah, first of all, he's the token black guy because he's the only black guy on the team, and then secondly,
and he's a nerd.
He's still a nerd. They explain his social awkwardness or his inability to work with the rest of his team on a social level or communicate with them properly. And I like that they just don't go, you're a nerd so you can't talk to us or you don't understand how normal people think because you're a nerd. That's not the excuse anymore, which for me was a huge issue when I was growing up because it was just you're the Blue Ranger.
Yeah.
You're totally missing the Yellow Ranger. She doesn't have boy problems anymore.
No.
She has girl problems.
That's right. See,
and that's one of my favorite things. That is one of my favorite things now.
Of the newest film, yes. Of the newest film, I really like that about the Yellow Ranger. Awesome. Good work.
Modernize this,
And now
that's why I got banned.
The Black Ranger is now like this
Asian.
kind of like but he's this kind of like difficult to grasp individual who's like you can't really get what his personality is. He's kind of all over the map. You get that he's supposed to be a little crazy and wild and stuff like that, and he's supposed to be kind of like the funny one, and that's what his character was supposed to be. But like it was really just kind of all over the place at what they were doing with him. But it was just putting into place that he's the crazy one.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing, though.
No, not at all. I think the weirdest part about his character was his Megazord. It was a 6-armed mastodon. What the heck? It was an elephant centipede.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
Super weird.
I thought you was gonna go
ant.
elephant octopus or something.
Elephant ant
Octopus.
is probably more accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but still. No, I like the new Power Rangers. It was really good. And
The original one was very tropey. I mean, the other trope that they love to abuse as like a side joke throughout the entire series was the use of the school bullies. Being like these dumb characters and things like that, or these silly good for nothing type of people. Yeah, it's Bulk and Skull, and funny enough, I think one of them has a PhD, and the other one is like a bachelor's in science.
What?
But their characters were portrayed as like stupid characters who never did anything useful or anything like that, except for the times that they like provoked the bad guys several times.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and if you notice though, with the whole cliche of bullies in shows, movies, anything really, the bully is typically not very smart.
Yeah. That's what they did with Bulk and Skull. They
So
made it so
I'm
that
not
they
sure
were
why
basically
they
not
did it that way.
Oh, it's totally,
Apparently bullies
yeah.
aren't smart.
there was one movie where the bully was smart. I try to remember that one. I'm gonna remember it by the end of the day.
Oh, but it's usually usually a different class of bully where it's not the one that's seen often, but it's always like I'm smarter than you and therefore I am better than you and you're beneath my existence. That's like
that's
overly arrogant, super cocky, hyper intelligent. Like I'm gonna use these unnecessarily large words just to make you feel insignificant.
Mhm.
And like
Yeah.
the trope with
Damn
those
it, Brandon.
characters.
Are you bullying me right now?
I feel like those were a little later though, right?
Yeah, but like those characters came about with later on because their intelligence wasn't really viewed as that significant in the past. So those kind of archetypes came out later on, and those usually come with like later on in the story they'll reveal that character's bullied in his own way, and that's the reason why he bullies others. So like that's how they use that
How it
trope.
works.
Yeah. So how they use that trope, and then they turn that bully into a friend type of thing.
Yeah, that is true.
And how often does that happen? The bully turns
very, very often.
It happens.
But I kind of like that when the villains just like switch sides. I
do like that.
like that. Yeah.
I've seen it in
Yeah, it
quite
was
a
like-
few shows when I was growing up.
It was like when the Green Ranger turned good. I was like, yeah.
Well, that
Tommy was so.
that you could tell it was a matter of time because he was literally being manipulated.
I know, yeah, but he was so cool though.
Yeah.
He was the coolest character in the show.
Yeah,
Even when he was evil, he was like, he looked at Kimberly. He was like, "Stop! I don't want you flirting with me anymore." He walked away. It was just like, oh, rejection. Oh.
She forgot about the Red Ranger so fast when the Green Ranger came around. It was so sad.
Yeah,
It was so funny.
it's one of those. Yep.
She was like, "Oh my gosh,
Oh.
look at him!
Oh, yeah.
He's got luscious long hair."
I don't know if you guys know, but Vulcan and Skull actually show up in a lot of other Power Rangers too.
Oh yeah.
Same anatomy, but Vulcan and Skull are still the same characters. Like they don't change even as adults. If I think at one point in time they actually just end up becoming almost subservient to whoever are working as the Power Rangers. Like it was really, it's a really weird situation. I don't like how they use their characters, but whatever. So moving forward, one other thing I wanted to point out was because we were talking about like the heroes and stuff like that, the stereotype of the hero team. I wanted to point out the single hero, the one who's like, I have to save the girl, and I have to do this and stuff like that, or he is definitely the bad guy, and how they depict bad guys, good guys, the damsel in distress and stuff like that. The best example of this, no, Dudley Do-Right.
Oh wow, you're right.
Yeah.
Damn, you went way back.
Oh yeah, Dudley Do-Right is the best example of, because Spider-Man is conflicted in a lot of ways, and a lot of times he deals with conflicted villains who are like, oh, I'm not really sure if this is what I should be doing.
Yeah, that is.
And he'll also deal with conflicted love interests like Black Cat.
You're right.
So like they at least have some conflict. They at least have some stuff where it's like, oh, some people will say this, some people say that. Who's right? No one is really, because it's all a matter of opinion at this point. You know, it comes down to that. Dudley Do-Right was more black and white than the show originally aired in. There was a definite A and B when it came to the characters. The bad guy was always the bad guy. He always had the mustache, always had the dark clothes, always the real creepy gray skin who wanted to kidnap the girl, and for no apparent reason just tries murdering her every single time.
Yeah.
And then there's the damsel in distress who could do nothing but be captured, and it was expected that she was supposed to profess her love to the hero. Then there's the hero who's like, oh, I'm doing the right thing here. I'm the hero. I'm gonna go save the girl. You know, that sort of deal.
Save the girl and then get the girl in the end.
Exactly.
I like that. That I like.
Sounds like Mario.
How it usually works.
Yeah, it's like
That's
Super
how
Mario, and then Mario came from
Saved me.
came from stuff like this, yeah. And I think the one thing I did like about Dudley Do-Right was that his horse was the more lovable character of all the characters in Dudley Do-Right. His like seriously, I used to watch the show for his horse.
Oh, nice, man.
I don't know, right?
It's because the horse had clothes on him, dude. Come on.
Not only is the horse dressed as a Canadian Mountie himself, but like the horse was just like half the time, like later on in the show, the horse was doing the saving. The horse was actually doing the real work. And then the girl the entire time just like loves the horse and appreciates the horse more than the actual hero himself. But the hero is just like this arrogant guy who's like, yeah, I'm the one who's the hero. I'm the savior of everyone here and stuff like that. It was just absolutely hilarious.
One of my favorite superheroes is Green Hornet, but that's because he's anti-trope. Like, he's not a hero. He's not the hero.
He's not the hero. He's the guy with the gun who's just like, I'm doing the heroing, but in actuality, like Kano does.
It's Kano.
The actual work. Like, he never did anything. And then
he gets all the credit.
And half the time he just like pulls out a gun and saves Kano, and it's just like, yeah, you're the hero because you saved Kano.
You saved Kano after he whooped like everyone else's butt. You just saved them for
like
that 1 second.
You're doing all the talking, so you're the hero, I guess. I don't know. It was absolutely ridiculous and hilarious.
No, but I love the Green Hornet, and like I would like to see that movie come back again.
Green Hornet, I like the original Green Hornet, but the more recent one, you know, with Seth Rogen, nope, not so much.
I like the Seth Rogen one. I think that everyone just gives it a lot of.
I gotta rewatch it because the first time I was watching it, I like halfway through it just pulled out my DS and was just like.
That goes to show you how much.
I loved it.
I was just waiting for Kano to do more stuff, and I would like close it, watch Kano do stuff, open it, play. You know.
Kano.
Because like
I love Kano.
I feel like they were making fun of the original series and saying that's exactly what the original series was like, which it was, you know. So they're living up to the original series in the way that they were just literally going, hey, he never actually did much because he can't really do much. It was mostly Kano, you know? But
it was all Kano. It was all Kano.
He's one of the heroes. My favorite, and now they make jokes about it all the time. My favorite vanilla hero, or the hero that everyone thinks of as like the staple good guy. And like I said, I love that even now the characters in the series are now acknowledging this. It's Superman.
Oh God, I hate Superman.
So
I hate Superman.
Vanilla, black and white sort of good guy. So like, basically, a lot of times you'll see in the newer series, even Batman and stuff like that, they'll make jokes about how he's like the staple or the vanilla good guy. He sees everything in black and white. There's no right or wrong. There's no confliction or anything like that. He's always like, yeah, we have to do this because we're the ones with the superpowers, and it's our duty to do this for everybody, and so on and so forth.
Shut up! Man, God damn it! I hate Superman. I really do. You know, Will Smith was supposed to play Superman. See, that would have added more intrigue to Superman.
Yeah,
Will Smith was supposed to be.
How upsetting would that be for the general populace? Like, oh no,
I don't care. Superman
is
sucks.
different. Superman is different from the original. Well, they wouldn't have changed the story. They just would have changed the main character. It's literally it.
He's so bad.
I would have added
Superman.
more comedy. But the thing is, like, Will Smith is great with.
He's known for comedy, though, so
and,
I'm not sure it would
Superman
fit him.
Is so vanilla. He can't even.
Yeah.
He doesn't even dish out sarcasm. He can't.
I know, he's so bland.
Yeah.
He has no personality. It's so bad.
How old is Superman? Like, Superman used to have a black and white cartoon. That's how old Superman is. That's why he's so bland. It's because he is literally from, like, what, the 40s, I think it is?
Yeah, but what about Batman, though? Batman's not that old either. I mean, not that young either, but Batman has more character.
He was literally, Superman came around the time of the Great Depression, and that was literally to try to, like, lift spirits. Like, hey, look, this is something to look up to. It was literally 1933.
Yeah.
That's John Cena right there, bro.
Red blue.
Okay, that was pretty funny. I give you a pass for that one.
That's John Cena right there. No, but John Cena has more personality than Superman. At least John Cena raps.
But then again, you gotta understand that he was developed so far back that they didn't really think of that too much.
I know rap music didn't exist back then. I know.
No, I meant. Oh my god.
Well, yeah. Anyways, so yes, Superman was supposed to be like this vanilla, like just staple good guy, where like.
But Superman's a boring ass alien, though. That's his thing. He's just a boring alien.
He has like he should have been more interesting because he's an alien.
Yeah.
Right?
You know?
He's an alien! Like, yo, like, you're gonna tell me when aliens come here, they're all gonna be like Superman?
See, he's one of the few heroes that, like, I have to fight people on, because some people are, like, really interested in him. I'm like, but he doesn't have much of a personality. Like,
Batman,
maybe if they had given him more, I would have been like, yeah!
But I feel like
no, I can't.
Batman is... He's a little bit more unique, but he's just barely outside of a trope of the troubled... Batman's the troubled teen. That's all Batman. He's a troubled teen with a lot of money. That's what he is.
I don't have so much interest in Batman.
Wow, this is all of a sudden turned into like a debate. What's going on?
He's a playboy. He's got so much charisma.
But he does that as like a show. His real personality, and they discussed that several times. Even in his in all of his comics stuff like that, Alfred points it out. He's like, "Listen, I understand you're doing this for a show, but you still have to put the show on. You still have to try to be a normal and live a life." And he's always like, "No, I have a job to do."
What about Superman?
My parents are dead. This is what they'd want me to do.
He was very brooding.
Yeah, he is.
What about Superman though? Superman, Superman.
My parents are dead.
Superman comes here flying, he's got his cape, he's got his clothes, and he puts a business suit on, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you know, I work for the Daily Bugle,
Planet.
I think."
Daily Planet. Daily Bugle is Spider-Man.
Is that, man?
I know that's Spider-Man.
Come on, how dare you? It's the Daily Planet. It's the Daily Planet. You wanna know why? It's if you remember the imagery of him...
Hold on! Superman's parents are dead too! Why isn't he as cool as... Come on!
Because he doesn't know they're dead.
Upset?
He literally doesn't know they're dead until he becomes, long after he becomes a superhero. That's when he finds out they're actually dead, like his real parent. He just thinks he's a superhuman.
Look. His parents, his real parents are dead. His foster dad is dead. Like, come on! Like, look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man's parents. Look, that's a trope right there. All these superhero parents are dead. What is this trope?
Hold on, but yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That is there.
There's a difference between watching your parents die in front of you, and then Just your parents being dead and you finding out about it years later.
That's how you become a superhero, though.
Yes,
Dead
I think
parents.
me and my cousins, we actually got into a conversation about this where a majority of superheroes nowadays, when it comes to their backstory, they become who they are due to some sort of tragedy. It doesn't always have to be death of a family member or death of, friends or death in general. It could be just a tragic event and all that. You know what I mean?
I'm going to name like all the characters that have become superheroes because their parents have died. There's a lot.
There is a lot, but there are those out there
because
where
it's traumatic enough to want to change somebody. That's the reason why because it's like
it also has meaning.
Yeah, for a lot of people, there's very few motivators as powerful as someone you care about dying, and you can't guarantee that everyone will understand. Oh, my wife is dead. Oh, my daughter or my son is dead, Or, oh, this John Wick, my dog is dead. For a lot of people, they were really upset. They were really upset that was his motivator.
It wasn't just because his dog died, okay? It was the dog that was given to him from his dead wife. That adds too much weight. If my dead wife gave me a dog, I'm going to cherish this.
But John Wick was supposed to be like almost. I think AJ might be dead right now. He's literally frozen.
Serious anymore.
But AJ, John Wick, there he goes. I think he's come back to life. There you go.
It was too much. It was too much for Skype to handle.
AJ tried to explode Skype. So John Wick is targeted towards the adult audience. So we would understand. Okay, my dog or my wife or my wife's dog is dead and I'm angry about it, that sort of deal. But with heroes like Superman and Batman, less Batman but more Superman, they were targeted towards younger audiences. They were targeted towards kids. For kids, they only know their parents as far as any kind of like intense emotional connection. So you losing your parents, how would that affect you? Or if, in Superman's case, since he didn't lose his parents really, or he didn't find out he lost his parents, it's really more along the lines of, I was raised to do the right thing no matter what by my parents or who he believes to be his parents, and then
his human parents.
Yeah, and then because he fails to save his father. He's like, all right, I can't sit back and like restrain myself anymore. I have to do the right thing. I have to try to protect other people, and like that's the tragedy for him.
Man, I'm just saying, Superman's boring as hell. No character, no personality.
Super duper vanilla.
I know. I know he's supposed to be.
That's also kind of the point. It's like Dudley Do-Right. He's Dudley Do-Right if Dudley Do-Right can fly.
But Dudley Do-Right was cool though. Superman, not so much.
Totally was not. Dudley Do-Right was not cool. Alright.
Totally not.
Anyway, tropes and cliches. Trope and cliches. So interesting.
What are some of your guys' favorites, Tarek? What's your favorite trope or cliche?
Personally for me, when it comes to cliches, I really like the video game cliches, and I think they address this a lot in the Simpsons video game that was released a couple years ago. And if you find a cliche, the comic book guy shows up out of nowhere and he's like, nice job, player, or something like that. And it's so funny because you have to sometimes die to go through the cliche. Like in the game, if you dive into a bottomless pit, that's a cliche. There's always a water level, there's always a block puzzle, there's always a memory puzzle. And all that.
I like how his character will like literally break. Even though he'll break the fourth wall and just be like, "Yeah, you found a cliche, and this is a cliche. If you don't know it's a cliche, you're stupid." I'm like, he'll sit there and call you dumb because he's like, "Oh, obviously, it's in every comic book," type of thing. There is always a bottomless pit. There is always a water level and all that kind of nonsense. It's always
like and I always find that to be like hilarious because it just goes to show you like. It just goes to show you what kind of, what we have seen over and over and over again, and it's becoming more recognized. And nowadays, like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people nowadays, when they watch horror films and all that stuff, they're like, oh, yeah, I know what's going to happen, and that's why it's not scary. I can predict it. Well, you can predict it because we've seen it before and all that.
It's hard to do something new and make something still scary,
I get you.
What about you guys? What are your favorite cliches? Lucen, how about you?
Uh,
No, she doesn't have any.
What the hell is
I
that?
failed. No, I was gonna say something and then I lost it.
What about you? Well, we'll come back to it. What about you, Brandon?
I think I want to encompass a large section of them. I think my favorite because they're ridiculous characters that can hide as they disguise themselves as something else and then reveal themselves as for what they really are later on. So like at first you're just like, oh, it's this cliche, and then it kind of evolves into a completely different cliche or different trope. And it has to be the Japanese ones, like there's tsundere, yandere, stuff like that, which are like different personality types of like a character hates you, but in actuality they like you.
She loves him. She's in love with you.
Yeah.
Helga Pataki right there.
Yes, she pretends to hate you, she bullies you, messes with you all the time, and it turns out that she's crazy in love with you and stuff like that, and she just doesn't know how to admit her feelings or whatever the case might be. So like that kind of cliche and like the other stuff that they have, which usually escalates from there, but there's all kinds of ridiculous cliches that they use that are like
That's yandere and tsundere, right? Tsundere is the tough one. Yandere is the one that's like totally in love with you.
Yeah,
Yandere
and
is the psychopath one.
I have one for that too. I was waiting to bring that one out yet. I like this picture for it. But
So cute.
for anyone curious, this is specifically from another streamer's shirt. It's Dex Bonus or Dodger for anyone who doesn't know. She has like a bunch of cat themed shirts, and this one's specifically called Nyandere because it's adding an N to yandere, which is the same sound a cat makes in Japanese.
Yeah.
It's a whole bunch of layers to it. But anyways, point being, this one's great because it's supposed to literally be like she's the yandere character is a little bit more complicated than most cliches, but it is still a cliche in the sense that she's in love with usually like a male lead or something like that, or the character who would be portrayed as a male lead. She's in love with this character. Now, her dream in her head is to be with the male character, but she never tries to attain the dream. She never, because like the whole purpose, her whole purpose, and in her mind, it's all about being in love with this character and dreaming about being with this character. It's never about actually attaining the dream. It's just the idea that she could possibly do this. Now, when that opportunity is taken from her, so when someone else is going out with the male lead or something like that, that's when she gets highly offensive, or she needs to reject that what the person she loves is being taken away from her. So in this case, it's this, which is typically depicted as like her killing off any girls that would be in love with the guy, or if the guy reveals himself to be gay, she needs to kill him because that doesn't fit with her perfect picture of him. If he outright rejects her, that doesn't fit with her perfect picture of him, so she needs to overcome him. It's like anything that moves outside of that perfect picture, she just feels the need to fix it and keep that picture perfect at all times.
Without actually going after her goal.
Yeah, because then that would break the perfect picture. She'd achieve her ultimate goal, and then she'd have nothing. So she just wants that goal.
Yeah.
She wants that goal to always be there on her list.
That is Psycho Chick 101. You guys need to be careful.
For me, with the whole like anime and Japanese world there, yandere is actually a really cool one, and I say Deadpan. And Deadpan. The Deadpan characters are always the most adorable, so like...
The what?
Deadpan. It's like a character
who doesn't
emote.
The stupid one. Yeah, the stupid one. Like
they're like the lazy eyelids. No, it's not stupid.
Yeah.
No, it's not stupid.
It's just
not stupid looking. Like they're like have no emotion on their face.
It's just like, typically the emotionless one.
It's like they always look tired, or like they have low energy levels and stuff like that. Sometimes they'll be the intelligent one. Sometimes they'll be like a strong one. There is no logic to their character type other than the fact that they show little to no emotion.
Hey
It's just
man, I'm
about
just
how they choose to portray their character.
there you go.
Yeah, those are the cutest for me. But for cliches, like in general, I'd say like you know that know-it-all character that's always like calling everybody on their crap and telling them, you know, what's what basically. I typically like those kinds of characters in shows or movies or anything because they're typically the smarter character.
Yeah.
And I steer towards that. So for me,
I'm gonna piss people
You usually
off
end up
with.
becoming humble later on, though. That's the other thing.
yes,
That is
exactly.
true. Yes, I'm gonna piss everyone off with my cliche. I love this cliche so much that it's become one of my favorite things ever. Every time I play a video game or just in general watch something, it has to have an annoying sidekick character. Has to.
The annoying
It's just-
sidekick.
I love the annoying sidekick. It's so funny. Like I love Nintendo games. Nintendo games are infamous for the annoying sidekick characters. They are like you can't have like if you play a Nintendo game, you have to have the annoying sidekick character. For example, Legend of Zelda. When you play Ocarina of Time,
Okay, that one. I was like, which one?
you're gonna hear it a billion times. Hey, listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
You hear it.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. People are just like, oh, this is so cringy. I'm just like, this is hilarious.
Oh no,
It's just funny.
it cringy. It cringy.
I love it though. I think it just makes the game much more like comedic because it grinds people, but it's so funny. It's just like, it's hilarious. Like another Nintendo game, Star Fox. You have Slippy the Toad.
Freaking Slippy.
Oh my.
And it's like, Slippy's always getting like beat up, and it's just like, I need help.
So
Save me!
Slippy kind of becomes a damsel in distress every once in a while. Like he's just
Yeah.
you need to help. You
Oh, and
need
by
to
the
help.
way, in case
I'm
you don't
highly
know,
dependent on
Slippy is a dude.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
A lot. There was debate
Yeah.
about that back in the day, but no, he's a dude.
He's not a damsel. The damsel
Well, he's
is
he's still the damsel in distress, even if
Oh,
he's
yeah,
not a
yeah, yeah.
damsel.
Totally.
The trope
you
still more than applies.
you have these characters, the sidekick characters that annoy the crap out of you, to a point where there was a game, and I totally apologize to Brandon for this. I should have given him this picture, but there's totally one character that is a complete trope of the sidekick character, and that's Portal.
Oh.
And yeah, see, you have the sidekick character helping you out, telling you where to go, but it's a trope. He's supposed to annoy you. That's why he does all these punny things.
Oh, you're talking about the second Portal.
Yeah, Portal 2, yeah. And the character it's a complete trope. And
The character's name is Wheatley, by the way.
yeah,
Wheatley.
yeah, no, I
And he's supposed to be like this. Yeah, he's supposed to be the joke on like the annoying sidekick who's like,
yes,
"Oh, I'm here to help you," but he's like a bumbling sidekick, so he'll often tell you to do the wrong thing. That sort of deal.
Yeah.
yes. So that's the whole point. You get the annoying sidekicks in a lot of games. As I've last seen, Recore, you got a lot of the annoying characters. You got a lot of annoying sidekicks in that game. Although that game totally bombed, totally disappointed.
See, but Portal also.
No, I'm serious, man. I was so excited.
No, I believe you, bro.
But Portal also introduced everyone's favorite sidekick, the one thing that everyone did
Yes.
love in Portal, which was obviously the companion cube.
Oh man.
Yes.
The only
Yes.
thing you'll ever need to love, the companion cube.
Oh man.
Going back to Wheatley. Wheatley, it was funny because like Wheatley, you think is like this smart guy who's trying to help you. He's like, help me bring down this psychopath, And it turns out Wheatley was literally like a thing meant to bog down or dumb down the computer that is trying to kill you, which is Gladys.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like the most ridiculous thing ever, because you find this out and he's like, well, yeah, but I'm not stupid, I promise. And he's really just as stupid. Like, he has no idea what he's doing. And he goes crazy as well with power, so it's just hilarious.
Oh yeah.
You get we keep forgetting one of the most annoying sidekicks ever, and it's probably like one of the main reasons why I love the game so much. And I know most of you enjoy the game for the same reason. Why didn't we talk about Claptrap?
I was waiting for that one, yeah.
I actually like him.
Yes,
I
I,
like him,
love
and-
him, actually.
And,
I'm
in
one of
the,
those people who actually enjoy him.
same here.
No,
In the
people enjoy him.
pre-sequel-
No,
No,
people
believe it
enjoy
or
him.
not, a lot of my friends hate him to the point where in the pre-sequel, when I would play him, they would refuse to play with me. So
No,
that
I
was
get
awesome.
that he's the annoying psychic. I don't find him annoying.
Except he doesn't realize he's the sidekick. That's probably the better part.
He
thinks
doesn't.
He's the leader, and that you're
He
just
thinks
his
he's leading
slave.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hilarious because he's like this ridiculous character who's just like completely in denial about the fact that he's just not good
Yeah,
at anything.
Even in Borderlands 2, when in the beginning when you fall out and just pretty much you're unconscious and you get up, in the beginning he even like leads you through everything and acts like he's supposed to like be
He's your savior
big
and stuff
and
like
stuff.
that. And he's just like
He
"It's
talks
okay,
highly
you'll
of
just work."
himself.
Yeah, he's like, it's okay, you'll just work for me as my minion. And like every single time he needs you on a mission, he goes, "Okay, minion, go do your thing." You know.
Yeah.
So at the very towards the end of the game, he does the same thing where he's like, "All right, minion, do my bidding." You know. In the pre-sequel, he's supposed to be annoying.
Yeah,
but
we're about to-
since he's a main character, they were just like, how are we gonna work in him being annoying? Oh, I know. All his powers are gonna just annoy his teammates. They're gonna be based around his teammates, and they're just gonna annoy him. So he's the character that you play when you're playing with friends, because all his abilities affect multiple people. And it's literally to the point where I was playing with one of my friends, and he was going as a sniper character. One of my abilities forces his character to pull out 2 guns and fire wildly until he runs out of ammo. So as a sniper, that leaves you with no weapon, no ability to do anything, and you're instantly exposed because if you're firing wildly, enemies turn to you. So he just consistently gets screwed, and he's just like, listen, you have to never use your powers. Every time you use your powers, it screws me over. I'm like, yeah, but that's the point of my character. So like, it was
Claptrap
just
is
ridiculous
great.
thing. Yeah.
I love even till the end of part 2. He's like, "Come on, minion, we're gonna go beat Jack," and sure enough, he counters his biggest weakness, which I won't say what it is.
Yeah, that's the greatest part ever. It was just like, oh, okay, I guess I can't go forward from here. So good luck, do it for me. It was like that's the greatest part. He was like, all right, you can defeat the enemy for me. You got this.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
I just the annoying character, the annoying sidekick. You're gonna get that everywhere, even in superheroes. You get it. I hate Robin. I'm just throwing that out.
Oh man,
Which Robin?
have
Which
you seen the
Robin?
Lego Batman Robin?
Oh,
Probably
Yes, I
my
have.
favorite Robin ever. Easily my favorite Robin ever.
I need to see. I haven't seen that film yet. I really need to see
It's
it.
it's
Lego
funny.
Batman.
It's
It is
funny.
its own class of great as far as Batman goes.
Nice.
Yes,
They
it is.
make
Eh,
so many
Yeah.
references to the Adam West Batman too.
Nice.
Yes.
Better.
I hate Robin though. I think Robin's annoying.
Hey,
I don't like Robin. I'm just saying.
just saying. Just saying.
Just saying. Just saying.
Mm.
But no, like I just don't like I don't like Robin. He's annoying to me.
Oh, I get you.
People love Robin. People love Robin. Like in the Teen Titans, I hated Robin too. I was like, ah.
I didn't hate him in that one actually.
I hated Robin. I was like, oh, look at
Titans,
this.
actually, I was like, oh, that's good.
Look at this high and mighty guy. I think he's the leader.
Teen Titans actually had a couple different tropes in it, though we don't really
A
look
lot
at it
of
that
tropes.
way. Oh,
Token
there's-
black guy.
I looked at it that
there's
one.
The token
Token
black
black guy.
guy who talked and acted like that character, which if anybody knows Cyborg's character is not like that. Like the actual Cyborg character is very different.
He's not. It's very
like
serious.
He was supposed to be like this really intelligent, well-minded, like athletic person who was really good at sports and boxing or football, depending on the version. And like he ends up getting himself really badly hurt, and his father ends up saving his life, that sort of deal. But like the Teen Titans kind of took a lot of that away from him. It's like, okay, we took away his intelligence and we left him with his athleticism and his inner city attitude. You know, that's all.
And
we're gonna
booyah!
Yeah.
Okay, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So now we have that character. And then there's the dark and brooding Raven, which is always dark and brooding because it's like it doesn't matter what version. If you know her backstory, you understand why she's dark and brooding, and it's just it doesn't even become in dark and brooding. It's just she's a realist. she's a realist, and she's not even. You can't even say she's a pessimist when you know her backstory. She's not even a pessimist at that point. But other than that, though, there's Raven. Then there's the bimbo character, which is Starfire, who doesn't know or understand anything. But that's explained with her not even being from the planet.
Yeah.
Yes. See, at least hers made sense.
Yeah, exactly. And there's other characters doing other things, you know.
Yeah, like you know, Beast Boy's the party dude.
Yeah, the comedic.
Of course. He's a party animal, literally.
And he's supposed to be like the what's it called? The comedy relief between all
the
and stuff
relief.
like that. Yeah. So like that's his entire character's personality. Like even when his stuff was supposed to be serious, he ends up trying to be the comedic relief and doing stupid things the entire time.
I also want to point out one of my favorite tropes, though, the really awesome ass villains or antagonists.
Yeah.
That's becoming a huge thing.
So
Slade was awesome.
Slade was a great one because they always go, okay, so this is the part where you give us a monologue. He goes, no, and walks away. He doesn't give a monologue. He walks away, and he just always leaves you wondering. He always makes you more and more interested in his character because you know nothing about him. He doesn't talk. He doesn't monologue. He doesn't do anything. He always does stuff with intention, and you never understand the intention. And that's supposed to be the whole point.
Slade was so cool. Can we like talk about all the other cool antagonists, which is like a complete trope, like Star Wars, for example? You know, like
they became the trope, though. That's the thing, because everybody started replicating what they did and started trying to recreate that feeling that they gave. That it's just, you know. It became a trope, like, oh, you know, this turning out to be someone you knew all along, you thought was like your friend or something like that, but they're actually the bad guy. That sort of thing, that sort of deal. Like okay, for example, people started turning that into tropes because of things like that.
Yeah.
For example, Vader, awesome. Maul, awesome. Kylo Ren, awesome. Like
kind of.
Don't be hating on Kylo Ren, man. That guy's got...
No, I'm just kidding. No, Kylo Ren, believe it or not, he was actually my favorite new character that was revealed in this new sequel trilogy that we're going through. I'm just kidding. He was cool.
Kylo Ren has the coolest lightsaber, bro. I'm just saying.
I like the cross-threaded blade. Yeah, I like it.
I love it. Although nothing beats Darth Maul's.
Nothing does beat Darth Maul, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to find another actor who has the acrobatic ability that Darth Maul had.
Oh, no, yeah.
Oh, no, you're right.
Even that didn't work out very well because, like, they couldn't do voice acting or anything for him. So it was really funny. But him in the animated series and stuff like that was a much better character.
Yes, I totally agree.
When they got the voice acting down for him and everything, it was the most intimidating character. It was great.
Yeah.
Yes, totally agree. But you have all these cool villains, and I think that's what makes the superhero. In order to have a good superhero, you have to have a good villain.
Yeah.
You have to. Like Batman, you already know. Batman, who's synonymous with Batman? Joker.
See, the reason I like how now they're changing around how it was. So before it used to be that the Joker came around first. Like originally it was the Joker came around first, and then it was Batman. But now it's Batman creates the Joker. So
yeah, what the heck is
It's
that?
been going on for a while, but like since a certain point in time they switched it around and saying that this true hero that comes around trying to be the symbol of vengeance and stuff like that ends up creating his ultimate villain, which is the symbol of chaos. So he tries to constantly keep everything in order, and like he'll even never use weapons or anything he'll never use guns. He'll always capture villains and leave them for the police to do things with. He'll never do anything on his own. And he tries to stay within he tries working with the police and stuff like that. And then there's the Joker, who's just absolute chaos in every regard, who every time he forms a team up with villains, he ends up betraying the villains because it's funny. He ends up doing all kinds of ridiculous things. Every single time he pulls out a gun, you think he's gonna shoot somebody. It ends up being a joke gun. And then every single time he pulls out a squirt gun, you're just like, okay, this is another one of those jokes, right? Nope, he's just spraying sulfuric acid in your face, because that's just totally cool, you know? Or if not, he's just like, oh, I'm gonna spray laughing gas and watch you die from laughing gas, and you just thought it was a squirt gun. That's your stupidity for thinking that I was gonna joke around, you know? And then just all this nonsense. It's supposed to be chaos and unpredictable, and that's
unpredictability.
And by forcing order and by forcing vengeance and his vigilante justice, he ends up creating the chaos. That's supposed to be the point now, at least.
Yeah, and I mean, again, without a superhero, without a supervillain or a villain in general, you can't have a hero. Yeah. And you think of all these really popular heroes, I'm not gonna say Superman because Superman's boring.
But when Superman was interesting,
here we go again.
Interesting was Brainiac. That was the only reason he was ever interesting.
Yeah, Brainiac is cool.
Brainiac's cool.
Darkseid is
when I was
cool.
a kid, Brainiac and Darkseid were my favorite villains of all time.
Oh yeah, man.
Because Brainiac was just I can't die because I'm in everything all the time. I'm just going to slowly reform myself, come up with a new plan, and just take over everything. And then Darkseid was just borderline a god. He thought of himself as a god, you know? So that's how he did everything.
No, see, with me, when it comes to supervillains, you got to have Joker, Venom. Come on, Venom's Magneto.
But Venom wasn't Spider-Man's original arch nemesis.
No, of course not. No, I know that.
So the reason he really becomes famous was because of the Lizard Man, but his arch nemesis was always the Green Goblin.
Yes, it was Green Goblin, and then Vulture appeared.
It was the enemy he created. He never created Venom. He's the one who tried using Venom, but he never created Venom. He created the Green Goblin. That was always his doing.
Yeah.
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 That is true.
I'm just saying Doc Ock is better, though.
Oh, yeah, Doc Ock is another one that he created, though. Doc Ock was trying to compete with, the superheroics that Spider-Man was doing, and they were trying to create more tools to, basically compete with the super strength and super abilities of heroes that were in the Marvel universe. So Doc Ock ends up creating this machine, and when his machine ends up his project ends up getting shut down, he gets upset about it, puts it on himself, and starts using it to show that his machine is worthwhile. And in doing so, becomes a villain.
Yeah.
I want to hear this, okay? I'm mad now. I just read something. No, Superman sucks, okay? I want to hear it. Well, I don't want to hear this.
See, Superman...
Since you're grabbing it from there, he didn't say he was awesome. He said, where's the fun in that?
He's boring because, he can actually just do anything. But, actually, Superman has absolutely nothing on Darkseid. Because Darkseid's Omega Beam... Oh, man. So, Superman, if he's going to use his laser sight, has to have direct line of sight. The Omega Beam can follow you across the planet. And can curve around objects.
That's OP.
Yeah.
Darkseid's OP.
He doesn't even have to see you to keep using the Omega Beam. He could just... all he has to do is see you once, and then shoot the Omega Beam, and the Omega Beam will follow you, curving around objects. And heading straight for you with no remorse at all.
You wanna know who's OP? Magneto. Game over.
Yeah.
Magneto. Magneto's the greatest. Dr. Doom.
Yeah, Magneto.
The greatest.
Is he cool? Magneto cool.
What are you
Dr. Doom
talking
was
about?
great
Doc?
because he was like
Yeah, Magneto's cool. I like him. Okay.
Dr. Doom was great because he was the political villain. I feel like
Oh,
he
yes.
was great for that reason. He's like,
Oh,
I'm
but
gonna
he
be
was
the
awesome.
ultimate villain, and there's nothing you can do about it because I'm the political villain. So that's sort of
Yes, I like that.
See, Superwoman has more personality than Superman.
does.
I hate that
Which-
they demoted her to Supergirl though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then we got Power Girl.
Yeah,
I like
Power,
that.
Power Girl's a more interesting villain.
I know.
Like some of the more common Superman villains, like Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's ultimate power is money.
Money.
Um,
Lex Luthor.
Which reminds me, AJ,
Lex Luthor's
what would you
Bruce-
say? What would you say is Batman's ultimate power? Like, what's his
Money.
what's his greatest
Money.
asset? Wrong.
I was
It's
gonna say they're
writer's
kinda like-
convenience.
Polar.
What?
Writer's
Oh.
convenience.
What?
Get
One's
outta
the
here.
villain, one's the hero. So
Right? No,
Both
Lex
rich.
Luthor is Batman, but bad guy.
Batman in disguise.
Yeah, it's a bold
He wins
Batman.
that-
That's it. It's a bold,
That's it.
angry Batman.
Yes.
Literally,
I'm
he
serious.
owns Luthor Corp the same way that freaking
Bruce Wayne
Batman owns
Enterprises.
Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah.
They're both
Yeah, but if we
stupid
say
rich.
that, no, it's not the same.
Luthor
It's more
builds a
interesting.
power suit and weapons and everything like that the same way Batman does, but he just does it because he wants to commit villainy and sell guns illegally to make more money.
Yeah.
Except
And then-
Luthor
and then-
wins because Luthor became president.
And then Iron Man is Bruce Wayne.
I was
Marvel
gonna
version.
mention it, but then I'm like, but Iron Man, you can't really compare because he has all the personality.
Yeah, Iron Man
No.
does have a lot more personality than Batman, honestly. But
So
it's the
he's
same-
rich, but he's
it's the
also very
same, like-
intelligent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but his personality boils down to him being a spoiled,
He's a
bratty
complete-
child.
He's a complete
Yeah.
narcissist.
Yeah,
But it's not like
but that's the thing. He's a spoiled, bratty child because his parents are both gone, and like he did most of his
Yeah.
growing up without them the same way. And like he was smart. He knew he was smart. Everyone acknowledged that he's way too smart, and because of that, it just kept feeding his ego. And he knew he was amazing. And the
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
somebody tried to humble him and bring him back down was the second that he was like, "No, I'm gonna keep stepping up. I'm gonna build a power suit and become a hero and defeat all of you, and I'm gonna be
Power suit.
amazing again because I'm amazing. I already know I'm amazing." It was just that sort
Iron
of thing.
Man's a bad guy pretending to be a good guy.
Just wants to feed his ego, that sort of deal.
He
Anyways,
does.
so we talked a lot about the superhero tropes and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Uh,
Oh man,
Alright,
you know, there's one cliche we haven't talked about, and that's because it's not a specific character cliche, it's a story cliche, and that is the surprise ending.
Oh yes, but that's really cool though. I like
It's-
that.
it's-
That
it
one
tends
gets
to be
you on
really
edge.
good. My problem is where it's supposed to be almost like a mystery, and then it's like oh, you're gonna find out at the very end who the bad guy was the whole time, you know, that sort of thing, and they try to hint at it. No, not even where they don't try to hint at it, and they want it to be this big mystery or this big surprise, but you end up
Hey,
figuring
my-
it out because of some of the cliches, things like that.
Yeah.
my favorite surprise ending cliche thing is Old Boy. I will never ever forget the first time I saw Old Boy. And I
Yeah,
was like,
that was a good one. A real good one.
oh,
Yep. Me too. That was my
Yeah.
What? That was completely my reaction. I was like, what? No, that's sick. What a
But
movie.
one of the ones I was thinking of was like the M. Night Shyamalan films, where it was just like surprise, those type of things, you know.
I'm dead already.
I've been dead the whole time, or
surprise, mother.
you know, our planet gets invaded and they're afraid of water, and our planet's like 80% water. We're 80% water. Like everything is 80% water on this planet. And they invade a
That's actually
planet.
pretty funny.
Like if
Oh,
you're,
guess what?
that's like
Guess what?
that's like somebody
The
who's
plant-
highly. That's like somebody who's highly allergic to like plants and pollen just moves to the center of the Brazilian rainforest. That's how intelligent that is.
Hey, look, the plants are killing everyone. Hey, we gotta stop cutting out wood so the plants don't kill us.
Oh God.
That movie was so dumb.
Yeah,
So
well.
like those type of cliches are the ones that I'm talking about, where like it's supposed to be a surprise ending, but sometimes it's really really silly, or like it's easily seen through, like it's very transparent.
Yeah.
And then those are the ones that are just like the cliche type of thing.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of really good ones where you're thinking to yourself, okay, I can't figure this out, or oh, I definitely know the answer, and they pop out with something that you just smacks you in the face, and you're just like, oh,
Well,
I feel
those are
stupid.
cool though.
Yeah, it's just like, now I feel dumb because I didn't think of that before. One of them was the anime my friend and I saw, Your Name. There we go. It's like a little surprise ending where we both kind of had some ideas, but like we just didn't see it coming at all, and it was really good.
Yeah, that was a great ending.
Yeah,
yes.
that was great.
Exactly. So that's like one of the things where it's kind of the cliche, and you know the cliche is coming, you just don't know how it's going to be done, and that's what makes it a good one. But anyways, we talked about some good ones. We talked about some bad ones. A lot of bad ones.
We talked about some common ones.
Oh yeah.
Those are the funny ones.
Oh yeah, we talked about a lot of the common ones. There's tons of other ones that are becoming more common that are right now infrequent and stuff. But for now, it just comes down to at what point does something become a cliche, you know?
Yeah.
I just also want to. Hold on, go ahead.
I think it's when we can see something being used like over a dozen times is when we're like one character archetype, like a specific character archetype being used over a dozen times. That's when we could say, okay, at this point it's starting to become a cliche.
Yeah.
There's like at least one of those characters, or sorry, at least like let's say two of those characters a year pop up in a show. It's just like this is starting to become a cliche because it's being used. Like this character is exactly like this character is exactly like this character. That's when it starts, or this plot or this plot point. It's exactly like this. Like when evidence starts mounting, and you're just like, okay, I've seen this now like over a dozen times in the last like couple years. This is too infrequent. This is now a cliche. That's when I feel like it comes to it. So when when it gets overused, which is the definition of cliche.
I could talk about cliche and tropes all day long because I watch pro wrestling, which is complete tropes and cliches.
Right.
But I just want to throw out one more cliche that it's always there, and I know you guys know it too. In fighting games, you always have a Bruce Lee type character.
Yes, that is true.
Oh yeah, because like so many fighting games want to pay homage to the one fighter who kind of inspired a lot of people through his films. As far as people who never cared about martial arts, they just started caring because of him. And I feel like that's why they pay homage to him, and that's why he's like his character's becoming a sort of cliche. You know,
every game that you play, you'll find a Bruce Lee
half the time they're
type
named
character.
Lee too. That's the funny part. They're named Lee. They have the dragon outfit. And that's about it. Yeah, like
their name always starts with or has an L, so at least you know. Like Fei Long, martial law.
Long and law. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so it's just that's the biggest cliche.
And they do the thing that he does that not a lot of people do, which is just blatantly announce their attacks. Yeah.
Kick.
It's not even an exaggeration. It's exactly what it's like.
And it's not even that. It's the faces he was making.
Oh yeah. And it drags on. That's the face he makes. It's the face he makes.
I know, but it's good. It's like, oh god. How do you take that seriously?
Alright.
But yes, we talked about it.
It's a beautiful way to end that particular the particular character archetype. But go ahead, Dark.
Oh no, I was about to wrap up, but anything else that anybody wants to say?
Anime of the week.
Oh yes.
I guess we're done.
Yes. Anime of the week. Look, I don't want to be throwing cliched animes, so this time.
Put one of the anime pictures up that you had before.
That is.
It'll work.
It's going to be a very cliche one. Okay? Danganronpa.
Oh.
Oh, I think I have an image of Danganronpa.
You don't know what Stone is? Oh, well, yeah, of course you're not an anime person. Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. I heard of it. That's kind of.
Oh, you were like, what? I really believed you.
It's kind of weird because like it doesn't have cliches, but you feel like the characters are like fragments of cliches pasted together.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yes, very clear. It's you have.
When you think about it, there's no cliches in there. They're just
There is.
they're fragments of
otaku-
cliches.
The otaku guy, he's fat. That's a cliche.
Oh, he's definitely a cliche.
Oh yeah, his characters.
He's a huge.
But a lot of them are like kind of like counter culture versions of cliches. Like the one super muscular, really tough character is the female schoolgirl.
Yeah, but she's in the karate club. I'm gonna throw out the chick with the biggest boobs is dumb.
I don't remember what character that is. The sporty one.
Yeah, the sporty swimming chick. She's dumb.
That's usually well, not the dumb part, but like the sporty stupid or the sporty unintelligent one is typically the guy. It's typically the jock.
Yeah, but she's the one with the biggest. She's the big boobed one though. She's stupid.
That's an anime thing.
That's a cliche.
Anime, they have to have one of those characters. The only way they're gonna sell. But anyways, then there's like the deadpan character. You find out she's pretending to be a deadpan character. So that's another thing that I like about what they do with animes and stuff like that. The deadpan character has multiple personality issues. No, the deadpan character is the gothic girl. She's supposed to be the one.
You're talking about Celeste?
Yeah, she's supposed to be the one with the least.
The
talking about the gothic Gladio chick.
The nervous,
all the way towards the back.
The timid one, who's supposed to stay the timid one, who can't like act outwards. You think like, okay, she's just gonna be a victim because she's incapable of hurting anyone because she's so timid. She's the one who turns out to be the least timid one. Because of her
and the one capable of killing somebody.
Definitely.
Yeah. Who turns out to be the innocent one anyway. So like once you find out she's someone who is more than capable, more than happy to hurt people, she turns out to be the innocent one. It's like that's the funny thing about it.
Yeah. Danganronpa is very fun. I love it. I've been playing it on my stream. I played it a while back. I didn't finish it because my laptop kind of broke.
One of the first games you gotta stream soon.
That's one of the games I'm definitely going to come back to, yes. As well as Danganronpa 2, and then there's more Danganronpa games to out there, so I'm definitely going to be playing those as well. So, but Danganronpa, the first series, fantastic, very fun. Recommend it.
Yeah, really good game and anime.
Yeah, if you like horror-esque type of... It's not scary, but you'll be like, oh. Intriguing, very intriguing, and it has one of the coolest plots going on.
Very detective-y.
Very detective-y indeed, yes. And I loved it. I love the anime. I love the game itself. I've actually beaten the game. It's very fun. So I recommend that for everyone. It's very fun.
Yeah.
I won't say it's cliched because I want to say it's pretty cliche. It's not really cliche, but in a sense, it is. It's like I can see the cliches, but it's not really like cliche. But it's a great one. You guys should check it out. It's fun. Anything else to be said, guys?
No, good.
I'm good.
Brandon, Tark.
I mean, I can go about this forever, but I think we've done it justice already.
Yes,
yeah, I think that's it.
That's it?
Yep.
Wow. Guys, everyone just does not want to say anything, so guess what? I'm going to say something. Guys, it's been fun.
Uh-oh.
But we've got to go.
So long,
yes.
Farewell, Avitasen to you.
And so yes, absolutely. So that
I was gonna sing the Mr. Rogers song. You guys cut me off.
Oh my God. But yep, those are Tropes and Cliches. It's just as Brandon said. I I totally agree with what Brandon said about, like, it's not a question of whether or not it's going to be one, it's a question of when it's going to be one. I really like that.
Very true.
It's
All right.
The neighborhood above the beautiful day.
All right, so thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in for another Too Geeky to Care discussion. And last but not least, once again, I am Tark201.
I am Gothange1129.
I am Bushido X Wolf.
It's a lovely day in the neighborhood.
And that, ladies, and that down there, ladies and gentlemen, is Bajo Zutsu. And so Bajo Zutsu. So next week we'll be back with another game night. What that game will be, we'll figure it out sooner or later. But I think it's gonna be.
I'm gonna have my PC done, guys. I'm gonna have it done, and we will be playing something, and it's gonna be hype.
Okay.
That means yes. So
dial it back a notch.
With HSBC now our possibilities are even broader. So we'll see what happens. But above all else, thank you guys so much for joining in on this lovely evening, and we hope all of you have a good rest of your weekend, good rest of your day, and hope to catch you guys again soon.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
All right.